friends. Trisha Goyer here, and I am so excited to talk to my friend Lisa Bergren. So, first of all, Lisa, welcome. Always love chatting with you. And why don't you just start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Thank you, Trisha. I'm Lisa Bergren. I am mama of three grown kids and the wife of Tim for 31 years. And I live in Colorado Springs, Colorado. I've written somewhere around 70 books. I think my friend Trisha has me beat by far by
Just a
now,
little
but
bit. I don't know. Something. It's 80 something. I don't know.
but I've been writing since I was about 25, and I just enjoy being with the writing and reading community.
Yes. Oh, and I love your book so much. I mean, back when you had the Palisades books and the Captain's Bride, and I've just been a fan of your books for so long. The Bridge, I mean, just so many great books. But today we're talking about your brand new release, which is amazing. Did not disappoint at all. So we have
Yay.
Estuary here. And this, sorry about that. This is a new book in a new series, but tell us a little bit about how you get the idea because this is, even though it's a new book and new series, there's a lot of tie-in to something that you've previously done. So tell us about that.
Sure. So the inspiration for Estuary is because I had written the River of Time series that
Hmm.
started with Waterfall,
Yes,
which did
so
super,
good.
super well back in the day when it was released. And I published three books with David C. Cook, and they all did really great. And then they got out of fiction. And so I actually self published two more books in that series, that River of Time series, because the fan base
Yes.
is a crazy pants. I mean, they're just, I call them my river tribe, but I've written over 25 novels, I think, and I've never had a series hit like River of
Hmm.
Time did. I mean, it's the series that people write to me and say, I reread it every year. And,
My
it's amazing
girls,
to me when
yes.
people reread it once, but like every year, it's crazy.
No,
So
my
people are
girls,
passionate about it.
I think I've told you about it because I bought the audiobooks and then I bought a copy for one of my daughters and then the other ones were fighting. So I don't even know, 5 different copies over time of Waterfalls because then they
I
lose
love
it,
it.
then they want it, then this other one wants it. So, yeah, it is a favorite definitely in our house too.
Yeah, and I had written that series. I set out to write that series because at the time my daughters were, I think, 13 and 17, and
Mhm.
it was horrifying to me because they were reluctant readers. And when you're a
Mhm.
writer and your children are reluctant readers, you got to change that.
Yes.
And so I really did kind of my homework to figure out what's hot right now. And at that time, it was Twilight and Hunger Games.
Mhm.
And so I let my kids read those books, and I thought, well, if I'm gonna write something for them that might capture their attention, I want the romance of Twilight and the action of
Mhm.
Hunger Games, but I don't want vampires, and I don't want an arena killing
Yes.
scene. So that's how River of Time was born. I had written medieval Italy before, so I set it in that same
Mhm.
time period because I'd already done the research.
Yeah, and that's such a great time period, and it's before the Renaissance, and I mean, the skirts, the corsets, I'm like, when the girls are struggling to breathe, I'm like, Give her some air." She
I
has these
know.
corsets that are, like, so tight, but it is
Yep.
such a great time period. It's so fascinating to see these feuding, I guess, kingdoms, or how would you say
Yeah.
the different, yeah, kingdoms and the people that interact, and I think sometimes we think like medieval people, I don't know, they didn't have the same passions and loves and interests, but you have definitely brought them to life. And so now this
Mhm.
new series is also time travel. And then we
Yes.
have um, connecting characters. I don't know how much you share. I remember when I
Sure.
first realized it, I'm like, I like literally gasped when I'm like, oh, this is making so much sense now. So tell us about
Yes.
like however much you want to share about this book and the connection with the previous series.
Sure. So River of Time is really based on two contemporary female characters.
Mhm.
I was inspired by my daughters, and they time travel back to medieval Italy and find love. And their names are Gabriella and Evangelia. And so their maiden names is Betterini. And so
Mhm.
there's a gene in the Betterini family that allows pairs of them to time travel back to this time period. And so with Estuary, it's picking up with those same characters about 20 years later. So they're,
Yeah.
you know, they're middle aged now, and it's twins, girl and boy this time, who are coming back, and I call it new adult with all without you know all the bad stuff that new adult
Right.
stuff comes in. So I think it can capture both YA and adult readers. One of the things I loved about River of Time was that I heard from people who their teenagers and the moms and the grandmothers were all reading it together. And I just think that's so fun to be able to share a series like that. So I'm hoping Estuary and Oceans of Time does the same thing. You don't have to read River of Time
Mhm.
first to pick up Estuary and just see if
Right.
it's your cup of tea. But you might be drawn into that world and want to go back and read them later. There will be nothing that really will ruin it for you. So I
Right.
would go ahead and check out Estuary and see if it's your cup of tea too.
Oh, yeah. So I started it, fell in love with it. Then I'm like, okay, I want to go back to River of Time. Then I'm like, I don't have enough time to read all those books. And then, so then I like stopped like a quarter through River of Time, the first one, Waterfalls, and then came back to this.
Yeah,
And you're right. There's nothing that you need ahead of time, but you're going to love time travel and the romance. There's two different romantic threads going on with
right.
historical young women and then the contemporary young woman that goes back in time. So there's all these sparks flying. There's people wanting people's hands in marriage, that they're falling in love with other people. It's just like so many good threads. So you're right, there is the romance, but then there's the battle scenes, and then there's the history. So it's talking
Yeah.
about their dance, and then it's talking about their fights, and then it's talking about just how different they are. I mean, the height of the women in the contemporary is a lot taller than in historical. There's so many things. So if you love history, yes, you're gonna love it. Time travel,
Yes.
yes, you're gonna love it. Romance, yes, you're gonna love it. Some action scenes, yes, you're gonna love it. So I could see why the first series and then this, I just know it's just gonna take off because it's all those elements that there's no time where you're thinking like, I don't know. But it's just like you just have to read the next page. Like, okay, I got kind of annoyed because I was listening to the audiobook last night, and when I was making dinner, people kept coming up and trying to talk to me. I'm like, just leave me alone. I want to make dinner and I want to listen to my book. So, yeah,
I love that. I just heard from a reader today who said I'm making myself stop after every 20 pages so I can relish it, you know, have it go longer, but it is really it should be a pretty fast-paced read for most people.
yeah. And let's talk about time travel because I think there might be people that aren't familiar or haven't read time travel. They may love historical or they may love contemporary. How do you see this time travel element really playing into the story?
I think what's fascinating about time travel and what it evokes is that if you were sent back in time,
Mhm.
I think you'd be saying, one, you know, why did God send me back in time?
Right.
What for what purpose and why am I here? And what am I supposed to do now?
Mhm.
And those are kind of plot lines that speak to all of us, right? Whether
Mhm.
you're a teenager or midlife, we're constantly saying, okay, I am where I'm at, and what for what purpose? What am I supposed to do at this point in time to glorify God the most? And so, um, I think it's really fun to explore that with new characters again.
Mhm. Mhm.
Same themes because it's something that we all explore too. So time
Yeah.
travel is a very evocative way to push those questions in the characters' lives. You know, because if I was sent back to 1472, it'd be pretty overwhelming.
Yeah, pretty yeah, everything's different. Everything
Yeah,
is different, and even I mean, they live in castles, and then there's the enemies trying to invade, and they're trying to get everyone inside the close so they could close the gates. I mean, there's so many things you're like, "Oh, yeah, I wouldn't even know what to do with in these situations." And so that's the next question. So what was it like researching the pre-Renaissance, it's this medieval period in Italy, because I think
yeah,
we are familiar with kind of more of the Renaissance. So let's talk a
sure.
little bit about going even back more in history.
Yeah, and what I like about this era is that it's just a more simple time. Some people
Mhm.
think it's like an unenlightened time because we equate the Renaissance with enlightenment.
Mhm.
But I think there's lots of evidence that people really enjoyed their lives, loved their lives, and music and stories and time together. That it's just perfect for me in terms of the simplicity, because I think a lot
Mhm.
of us are hungry for that simplicity. And as
Mhm.
much as that time period is brutal, like, fighting for your life over and over and over again, and I really bring that forward,
Yeah.
um, I think if we in contemporary America faced wartime again, it would awaken in us the idea of how valuable life is
Mhm.
and how precious our time is, and how precious our families are. So for these contemporary time travelers to experience that, especially because these new Betterini twins are really hungry for family, they're discovering what it could be in a whole different
Mhm.
way. So I like that time period for those reasons. One of the surprising things is that resources conflict. So I had a pile of research books, and one source would say one thing and one would say another, because I think they don't quite know, or
Right.
they have
Right.
conflicting resources. And so what's nice is that I could just pick and go,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going with this one. Whereas Renaissance, you'd have to be much more exacting, because we have many more resources from that time period. The other surprise was how difficult it was to find out about medieval Italy. There's precious little in English on that
Right,
time period.
right.
So I supposed certain things, like made my best guess again. But the good part about that was too, I had freedom to do that
Mhm,
because
mhm.
no one's really checking up on me.
I mean, it all sounded really good to me. It sounded like you know what you're talking about. So I was following along perfectly.
I used a lot of resources about medieval England, because there's
Mhm.
a lot more about that. So in English, so suppose that a lot was the same in Italy as well.
Yeah. So and then you've been able to travel there. So I wanna hear more about that because your photos
Yes.
from there
So I
are
fell
just
in love with Italy.
amazing. Yeah.
Yes, I tell everybody don't go, because if you go, you fall in love and then you have to go back again. So
Yeah.
we went years ago with another couple, Tim and I did, and it was our first trip abroad in our whole married life. And we
Mhm.
just fell in love with it. And I was researching at the time my Gifted series, which is
Yes.
Begotten, Betrayed, and Blessed. And so it made it come alive for me in a whole new way in terms of research and travel, and I just loved it. And then I took my daughter back, and we went to Venice for 10 days, and then I took another daughter back to Rome, and then we took the whole family and my parents back, and then Tim and I went again to Tuscany, and then last year we took our kids and their significant others or spouses, and one of my daughter's in-laws. So we were
Oh,
all there together.
wow.
We did Rome for a few days, a villa in Tuscany for a week, and then we sent them all home. And then Tim and I drove up to the Dolomites up in the north. So it's a fabulous country. The
Yeah.
people, the countryside, the history, it has it all.
And I love that there's these places. I mean, do you feel like home there? Like, because I know when I go back to the Czech Republic, I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I'm back again." And
Yeah.
I'm walking around Prague and I'm like, how can this other part of the world feel like home? But it's like I
Right.
just love it so much. And so it is weird when you feel like there is that connection with another place. But I think it really comes through.
Yeah. And I think it's the people, and that you could, when you can envision yourself moving there, like I could live there. That's a pretty amazing thing. That's only happened to me there and in Scotland. I love
Mhm.
Scotland too. It has this just sense of, I forget the word for it, but there's this just sense of homecoming.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and you really get sense that in the book. It feels like very connected, like very I don't know, I'm falling in love with it through your stories because it's clear that you love it and you
Yeah.
love just opening this world up. And the characters are also amazing. So they're unique. They're like I mean, even these new characters, there's different strengths that they have. I love that they are into the martial arts, and then all of a sudden they pull these moves, and the other enemies are like, where's that coming from? Because
Yeah.
martial arts really weren't a thing back then. They had different kinds of
Right.
hand to hand fighting, so it's fun to
Right.
see different strengths that are just displayed through the stories.
Mhm. I love that too.
Yeah. Okay, so I know that there's more books coming. So we have this one that is brand new,
Yeah.
just released. What can we expect in the future?
So I just finished edits on Riptide, the second one, and that will come out this spring. And then the third book, which is yet to be named, comes out 9 months after that. So I'm
Okay,
trying to get them out
good.
every 9 months because I know that people are hungry for the next one as soon as they finish the first. It's just kind of the way these series go. So I'm excited to see it through, and we'll see what happens after that.
Yeah. Well, I'm telling you, I'm so glad that you said spring because if you're going to say a year from now, I'd be like, no, I
I
don't
know.
want to wait. So I actually like perked up when you said spring because that's we could do that. We could wait a little bit.
That's right.
And the cover, I mean, I just have to hold this up, is gorgeous. So, yeah. So if
It's
you finish
beautiful.
the edits now, you haven't seen the cover for the next one, or have you? Or
I have, and it's beautiful. And it has a
oh,
very handsome knight on the cover, so we'll have to do that cover reveal in August, I think is when I
mm.
get to reveal it.
Yeah. Oh, I cannot wait to see it. Okay, that is awesome. All right. So the fun thing is, I mentioned I love so many of your books. I've known you for a long time, and you don't disappoint. But I was thinking back when we first met, Lisa. You were an editor at a conference I was attending. You were pregnant, and now you're going to be a grandma soon. So it's just so fun as you continue with your favorite authors, just like you almost get to experience your life with them
Mhm.
and seeing what like as I'm following along with you, I get to see your family's growing and now you're gonna be a grandma and it's so cool.
Yes. I think I was pregnant with Olivia when we
Yeah,
met.
you're pregnant with Olivia. Yeah.
My first, yes. And so then, yeah, now Olivia's due the end of this month, and I'm so excited, but it's kind of thrown me for a loop. It's sending me through like those midlife questions, like, okay, I have, probably a good 20 able-bodied years left. What do I want to do with those years?
Mm.
And what kind of grandma do I want to be? Who do I want to be? Her name's Amelia Ray is going to be her name.
I have Amelia Rose as
I
my
remember that. I think
yes.
that's so fun.
Yeah.
So, it's a new stage of life that I'm surprised by, and surprised that I'm surprised.
Yeah. That's so exciting. The fun thing is, because well, first of all, you have children's books, which
Yes.
I just ordered some also for a baby shower that I'm going to on
I
Saturday.
love that.
So
Thank
you
you.
already have books, but it's so fun that, to think of her growing and be able to read the books. And that
Yes.
I think with every book, we leave part of ourselves and part of our hearts. And like that's the
Yeah.
spiritual threads. And your books are always, there is always a spiritual thread. There's always those questions of like what does God desire for me or what's my purpose in life or can I have faith or what are spiritual gifts. I'm just thinking as I'm thinking through your books,
Yeah.
our spiritual gifts for today in your other medieval series. But I
Yeah.
love that you have that and it's like this legacy
That's
that
true.
you're leaving even within the books.
That's true. That's really fun. My newest series is called Nana the Great. So
Yes. Do you have those
it's
there?
like I have this. So Nana the Great
Yes.
is the first one, and she's a kick in the pants. And I
She
want to be a
is.
kick in the pants grandma too. So Nana the
Yes.
Great Goes Camping is the new one that just came out.
Ah, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it just came out last month. It's adorable. David Hahn did a great job on the illustrations.
Yeah.
And Nana the Great is just like she's just such a fabulous character. You would want to have her in your life if you could meet her in person.
Yeah, that's so good. And yeah, I got that for my Amelia that's in the Czech Republic. So she has that.
Oh,
Yeah. So and also the God gave me you and then all the ones
yeah.
that come after that are just
God gave us
my
you.
yep. my go-to baby shower gifts. I always get those and love it and love those. And so I just love that, you and then you write nonfiction. We could talk all day. But in your journey as you've written a lot, what has God done in your life as an author?
Hmm. I think I'm amazed that he just allows me to continue to publish. You and I
Mhm.
both
Mhm.
know so many
Mhm.
writers who are so talented, and they're just struggling to find their first break in, an opportunity to publish. So incredibly blessed by God's provision and the doors He's opened for me. And I'm honored that people would buy my books. I just still am pretty stunned, I'm 70 books later, like, wow, I get to do this for a living. This is
Yeah.
crazy. Um, and I'm so gratified when the words I write speak to people's hearts. I'm amazed when they write to me and talk about how it's changed their faith,
Mhm.
or motivated them to get back involved in church, or to begin a prayer life. It just is super cool. I'm honored to be a part of it, any part of that process for people.
Yeah, and I love that. And what I love too, I mentioned my girls love your books, and we adopted them when they were preteens and teenagers, not from a Christian background. And a lot of my books that I'm like, "Hey, you should read this," they're like, nah, I'm not really interested." Or I'd read the Bible to them, and they'd like put their head down on the table, like, "I don't want to listen to this." Like so,
Yeah,
but with I know definitely this book and then your so many of your books, your fiction, you could hand that to someone who maybe if you have
right.
a child or a grandchild, a neighbor, a
Hmm.
friend, you can hand them this book. They're not going to feel like, oh, this is a preaching book because they're not at all. They're going to get caught up in the time travel and the romance and the action. And then the spiritual thread is so beautiful and so gentle and so part of the story. It never feels like tacked on where there's a preacher giving this 10-page sermon or whatever. It's just
Right.
part of the story. And so that's what I appreciate. So thank you, Lisa. When I was handing these books to my own daughters, when they
Right.
wouldn't read so much of the stuff that I was trying to get them to read, you're able to just capture them in these stories. And then so just
Yeah.
encouragement if you have birthday gifts or even Christmas gifts, pre-order it or get it now and save it for Christmas because these books definitely are exciting and interesting and that romance is there. It's like, okay, my heart beats quickening a little bit in this little romantic scene when they're picking weeds and the or picking medicinal medicine or whatever. But
Yeah.
it's all there so that they can
Mhm.
like they're all going to be wrapped up in it and then that spiritual thread is there too. So I really appreciate that.
Yes, and I actually wrote River of Time. If you have teenagers in your life, I wrote River of Time so that my daughters could hand it to any of their friends in the public school. So
Mhm.
it's very, very subtle, and River of Time becomes a little more progressive, more spiritual as the series goes on. And Estuary has a bit more, but it shouldn't be hitting
No.
anybody over the head.
Right, because even in River of Time, at the beginning, she's like, "I don't even know if I have faith." So,
Yeah, she was we call them creasters, Christians that go to church, at Christmas and Easter, but
yeah.
they don't really know what a faith life can be like. And so it's opening their eyes to that bit by bit.
Yeah, which and then so then if they're all into the spiritual books, they could get the other one, the other medieval series with those books, which are so strong in the spiritual themes, which are awesome. I really love those
Right.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really one of my favorite series is The Gifted, and that starts
Mhm.
with Begotten. And that it's all about spiritual gifts and
Mhm.
how we can use them today as much as they did in that era as well.
I love it. Okay, so let's talk about novels that you've enjoyed.
Okay.
So many I've read so many of your books, but I want to hear like some books that you've enjoyed. It could be old favorites, it could be new Christian fiction that you've read recently.
Okay. So I'm always scared to read my Facebook friends' books because I'm afraid that, I love you, but if I read your book and I don't like it, what am I gonna do? But one I ventured into was Pepper Basham's Authentically Izzy this summer, and it
Oh,
was
I've heard so many good things.
such a delight. It just was the balm. that I needed. It just joy. And if you meet Pepper, you know why her books are so joyous. So that was a lovely surprise. And then I've started to listening to Francine Rivers' "A Voice in the Wind," because I
Mhm.
read that back in the day when they came out one a year, and we were
Yeah.
so anxious for the next one. And so it's a joy to go back to that series and remember why I loved it so much. Those are unforgettable characters, and so that's mostly what I've been listening to lately.
Yeah, I love that series. I think I probably read it 3 times, the, Mark of the Lion series by Francine
Yeah.
Rivers, and then it was probably 2 or 3 years ago I started listening on audiobook again. It's like, "Oh, yeah." There's a lot more, like, violence and stuff than I remembered. I'm like, "Ah, this is
Me
good."
too.
Like,
I
there's
know, I was,
like
like, surprised. It was pretty edgy,
I
especially back
remember
then.
yeah, I remember, well, her editor, Karen Ball, really had to fight for a lot of that stuff, but it's so true to life, I think. I don't
Yeah,
know.
well, right, you can't depict that
Yeah.
ancient era without that stuff
Yeah,
going on.
Roman gladiators and all that stuff. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot going on. So yeah, yeah, those are some of my favorites too. Yeah, but I'm the same way with you, Lisa. I have so many friends that I'm like I want to read everyone's books, but there's a lot of people and there's a lot of books.
There
So
are.
so I
And
love when I
avid
get
readers, I mean, they're always coming up with new ones that I'm like, "Okay, I gotta add that to the list." It's
yeah,
amazing.
it's so fun. But I'm so glad I totally dug into the audiobook in this and got swept away with the characters, got swept away with the story, and the narrator did a great job. So
Yay.
you should be happy about that. All right,
Good.
so where can people go to find more information about you and your books and connect with you and hear about all the things? Because I saw a photo of you signing a whole bunch of these. How many did you end
Ye
up signing for that
I had 250 pre-orders, and I cut it off at that point just because I didn't wanna deal with that many more. And so I signed all of those, and we sent them off in cute little packages, but now you can order them anywhere online, your local
Mhm.
bookstore, you could ask for it at the library. It's really helpful to me if you
Mhm.
ask your local librarian to order in a copy.
Yes.
Um, and if you want to know more about me, you can come to my website, which is lisabergren.com. And I have a quarterly newsletter. I don't inundate your inbox. So if you want to jump on my subscription list, I'll keep you posted as to what's going on. I also have a sale going on my gifted series, like buy
Oh,
two,
okay.
get one free. So if you go to my website and order that, you'll get an autographed trilogy. And then I also have the Sugar Baron's Daughters on sale. That's Katura, Verity, and Sela. And
Oh, yeah.
that's buy two, get one free. So if anybody's looking for some summer reads, those are also some good ones.
They will never disappoint. I've never been disappointed with one of your books, so
Thank you.
that's great. And will your cover release, like, go to your newsletter list first? So
Yeah, I should do that. I think I'll do that.
mhm.
That's a great suggestion.
Yeah, because I wanna see.
First to know.
First to know. Yeah, we gotta get the inside scoop, or for the next one, if you wanna get a pre-order and get in on that 250 signed
Yeah.
copies, we could get in
Yep.
there.
You bet.
Awesome. Alright, so that's just lisabergren.com. Well,
Yes.
Lisa, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to hold it up one more time. Estuary, definitely get it. And it's beautiful. This is hardback. It's gorgeous. The interior, I mean, it's just so well done. And then
Thank you.
also audiobook is, I will give it 2 thumbs up for the audiobook. So I love that
I
too.
love
So that
audiobooks, so I'm so
me
glad to hear
too.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. So thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you, Trisha. Have a great day.
You too.